Well, indeed, good afternoon. Welcome. It is that time of the day again when we bring you up to speed on what exactly is happening in the world of business. My name is Peter Akaba, and this is KTN Business Today. Of course, we are coming to you from our Mombasa Road studios here at the Standard Group Center. Well, today we have quite a wide array of stories for you as usual. We'll, of course, be bringing you up to speed on what exactly has been said in the world of business here today. Of course, various stories making business headlines, including one around corruption and the big ruling that has come out of the anti-corruption. We will be bringing you up to speed on what exactly that conversation is. Also on this show, the fact that Kenya is a nascent, indeed emerging oil economy, soon to be oil exporter. What exactly is the back end of that? Have we grown the skill set that we need to become a global player in that field? What are the efforts that have been done by various stakeholders? Well, we have one such stakeholder here in studio. Professor Catherine Ngila. She is from Kenya Pipeline Company. This, of course, is the organization that owns the Morendat Oil and Gas Institute. It is located in Naivasha. We will be having a conversation later on to basically catch up on what exactly is going on around training and the various efforts to bring together experts and stakeholders to bring the entire world up to speed and bring us into that sector in a big way. She's, of course, an expert of world renown and will be speaking to us later on in the show. Away from that, now to the markets to bring you up to speed on what exactly the barometers of the Kenyan economy are saying today. We want to start off with a quick look at the currency pairs. That, of course, is the sterling pound, the dollar, and the euro. And of course, our figures are from the central bank and will vary slightly depending on which commercial entity you do walk into to make your exchange. Now, the dollar pegged at 100.17, 100.36 buying and selling levels respectively. The pound pegged at 136.18, 135.46 buying and selling, while the euro is currently trading at 120.12 shillings buying and 120.38 shillings selling. Well, those are the currencies. What exactly is the Securities Exchange saying towards today? Well, NSE performance for the last trading session. These, of course, are the latest numbers. Trading having just ended a few minutes ago. We, of course, expect that they will adjust slightly over the coming minutes because all numbers from the NSE are delayed by about 15 minutes. Now, turnover for the day, 468 million shillings worth of shares bought and traded. Shares traded 13 million. The NSE 20-share index pegged at 3582.36 points, while bonds traded turnover 3.1 billion shillings worth. Well, what are the counters that are driving that trading session? Most active stocks: Safaricom, Equity Bank, Scan Group, and KCB. Safaricom, well, having moved volumes of 21.72 million shares. Equity Bank, 3.59 million shares. Scan Group, 1.90 million. And KCB, 1.01 million shares bought and sold on the day. Well, what then are the bulls and bears of that trading session? We start off with the winning stocks of the day. Well, the winning stocks so far: Deacons, Samir Africa, Nairobi Business Ventures, and Safaricom. Deacons trending upward 7.89% to 2 shillings and 5 cents. Samir Africa up 4.35% on the day to 2 shillings 40 cents. Nairobi Business Ventures trending upward 6.82% to 2 shillings 35 cents. While Safaricom is bullish 3.67% up to 28 shillings 25 cents on the day. Now, losing stocks, these are the bears of the trading session. These, of course, are the shares that have shared some value in day trading. Now, losing stocks: Eveready, Earth River Mining, Cement, the Standard Group, and Olympia Capital. Eveready shedding 10%. They are reaching the limit of its daily trade to 1 shilling 80 cents. Earth River Mining Cement down 9.60%, coming a close second at 5 shillings 65 cents. And the Standard Group down 9.49% to 31 shillings flat. While Olympia Capital has so far trended downwards 5.36% to 2 shillings and 65 cents. Now, we want to start off with the biggest story of the day today, which we'll be bringing you pictures of later on in the show. Now, former local government permanent secretary Sami Kirui and former town clerk John Gakuo have been sentenced to serve 3 years imprisonment and pay a fine of about 1 million shillings by the anti-corruption chief magistrate Douglas Ogoti over the 283 million shillings cemetery scandal. Now, former legal affairs director Mary Ngeve was sentenced to serve 3 years and pay a fine of 52 million shillings or serve an additional 1 year in prison, while a former secretary to the tender committee at the ministry has been sentenced to serve 3 years and pay a fine of some 32 million shillings. Of course, that having taken place just a few minutes ago, those pictures are processing and we'll be ready to bring them to you in just a few minutes now. Moving on, the RISE Fund, a global impact investing fund managed by the growth equity platform TPG Growth, has announced that it has signed an agreement to acquire a stake in Cellulant. Cellulant is a leading digital payment provider that reaches up to 40 million people across 11 African countries. In a deal which Cellulant secured $47.5 million, or about 47 billion shillings, the largest ever equity financing deal in the African digital space. Now, the RISE Fund is investing alongside Endeavour Catalyst and Satya Capital. The deal is the largest of its kind, dedicated solely to Africa's financial technology and payments space, competitively positioning Cellulant in a fast-growing sector where it already enjoys early mover advantage. Now, Cellulant offers solutions that can help unbanked open accounts, cut fees and save for the future, as well as helping farmers and small and medium-sized business owners expand their reach through improved financial services. Now, moving on, Kenyans traveling to China are set to benefit from a partnership between Stanbic Bank and Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, offering travel, shopping and leisure incentives to the tourists. Now, under the Kenya iGo China loyalty program, Chinese tourists visiting Kenya will receive discounts and special offers whenever they use ICBC cards at selected travel, hospitality and lifestyle merchants throughout the country. Now, Kenyan visitors visiting China will also enjoy similar incentives when using Stanbic Bank Kenya cards. The partnership is aimed at strengthening relations between the two countries by encouraging exchange of visits.
This program will provide the two countries tourists with tremendous benefit offered by the two banks.
The amount of trade and business that's happening with China and Kenya, I mean, notably the Thika Road, the SGR, but also a lot of Chinese tourists coming to Kenya. And we also have a very strong relationship with ICBC, who is a strategic partner of the bank. And therefore, bring that together, we realize that there's an opportunity for us to facilitate the individuals who go to China. We know a lot of Kenyans go to China to shop. They go there on holiday as well. But Chinese tourists come here, and there was no loyalty program that brought them together.
There's a market that is ready to travel to the world. We have the beauty in Africa. Combining those two things together is a no-brainer. We've got to do it. We've got to create the environment for those Chinese tourists to come. And when they spend, and we've seen that they are now the highest spenders in the world, this creates jobs. This creates opportunities. This creates businesses in Kenya to grow. And this is also aligned to what government is also trying to do in Kenya.
Now, it's clear that the world needs innovation and more entrepreneurs. The skills of entrepreneurship are good life skills as the rate of unemployment amongst the youth rises each and every day. Now, students at Leshuta Primary School in Narok are taking a different tack to save their future by ensuring very early that they do not face the same challenge of unemployment. Take a look.
Arable farming is a rare activity in Maasai land. Many a times, counties such as Narok are known to specialize more on pastoralism. Students of Simba Boarding Primary School are backing this trend and charting new direction. In this institution, they have a shamba where they plant beans, sukuma wiki and cabbages, which they sell around their community. Mary, a community member who resides within the community, is a frequent visitor in this institution.
Mimi ni muuzaji wa mboga. Sasa mimi nakuja kununua mboga hapa, hii watoto wanapanda. Sasa ndio tunakuja kununua.
Marco Kiaki, who is a 15 years old, dreams of having arable farming adapted in their region.
We are hoping to go and encourage those parents which are just looking for animals, but also to join this club.
Their patron, John Kiwa, has been their greatest benefactor thus far. He ensures the students are able to get the right market and thus run their project sustainable.
Tuliweza kuwasaidia hawa watoto ili expand knowledge on farming. Unakuta sasa wengine walienda wakaanza kuanzisha mambo na farming kule nyumbani kwao, kwa sababu sana sana this community ambao wanaishi hapa hawakuwa wanajua mambo na farming.
The project is not only transforming the lives of the pupils, but also the community at large. In Oldekisei community, the story is similar. At 3:10 p.m. when classes are done, you will find students out in their field exploring their talents. Most of the time, the games they play include football, basketball, and even rugby. The script is, however, different for 40 students at Oldekisei Boarding Primary School. Games time also means that it is time to check on their poultry project. Rearing chicken is not a very common occupation here in the heart of Masai land. According to Leah Kirima, who is a class 7 student, the project that started last year has far transformed her life in ways she never imagined.
Mimi nataka nikuwe na kuku wengi, sasa nipate mayai mingi, niwe ninauzia watu.
Many of the students have now been able to start a similar project back at home and even gone to an extent of encouraging their parents to adopt the same, thus diversifying incomes and changing livelihoods. Jonathan Ingu allowed us to walk to his parents' home to have a look at what he does. To be part of this entrepreneurship club, each student volunteers to contribute 50 shillings per month. This is in return enables them to invest and sustain their project. At the same time, commitment is of essence because the work here is not easy, as the club patron confirms.
Apart from depending on livestock keeping at home, in future, once they learn such kind of skills and knowledge, maybe they will have an alternative way of earning their livelihood.
With the skyrocketing rate of unemployment amongst the youths in Kenya, several schools in Narok West are embracing various farming methods to equip pupils with the much-needed skills and, in the long run, change the entrepreneurship mindset in the Ma community. Julie Owino, KTN News.
Flights to Garissa airstrip have resumed after a 2-year hiatus after they were suspended due to insecurity in the area. Now, Garissa leaders have lauded the move to resume the flights, saying the resumption would be beneficial for business. They were on hand to witness the landing of the first flight in 2 years earlier this week.
We have 4 flights in Wajir daily. We have another 4 in Mandera daily. We have got 2 in Elwak daily. And we say the Garissa also should enjoy these flights.
It is a good start, but from operational point of view, on our side, the runway might end up becoming slightly shorter if we need to use bigger aircraft. So it is a challenge upon the government and the county governments to try and see if we can get a bigger airport.
Indeed, good news there for business people from that region. Now, the massive Kenyan standard gauge railway project has attracted both controversy and praise. It has also attracted envy and interest. Now, local manufacturers, in a bid not to be left out of the SGR pie, have once again entered the fray with a singular appeal to be able to plug into the project as local suppliers of the various items that can be made locally but are currently being sourced from China. Take a look. The dust has since settled on the first phase of the construction of the standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Nairobi. Now attention has shifted to the second phase, with phase 2A, which entails a 120-kilometer line from Nairobi to Naivasha, taking precedence. Despite the controversy of the line passing through the Nairobi National Park or the cutting of the 32 billion shilling credit line by the Chinese Exim Bank, the phase 2A Nairobi-Naivasha leg appears to elicit consistent interest from local manufacturers who say that if they are to contribute fully to the government's Big Four manufacturing agenda, then they should be allowed to produce at full capacity by supplying the SGR with material.
Auto Springs at the moment produces about 150 tons of green springs per month by running on that 8-hour shift. However, our installed capacity is 450 tons. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we are running at a third of our capacity. And that has backward and forward linkages to the integration of additional capacity and the impact that it has on other partners in our value chain.
Speaking at a new factory opening in Limuru, board chair for Auto Springs East Africa, Kevin Kihara, urged the government to support local companies by allocating quotas to allow them participate in mega projects, thus also growing skills and manufacturing standards.
As we are asking for a component within the local assemblers for them to actually give us a piece of the action, this component will form a major barrier to the Big Four agenda.
For the company and other Kenyan entities like it, getting support from all possible avenues and stakeholders is essential in order to enable Kenya grow its own heavy manufacturing base. This support also includes political backing and buy-in.
But they challenged me that what is it that you can say to the government, because we are within the Big Four, that's manufacturing, so that we are able to sell even a single bolt to the SGR project.
The Phase 2A contractor, China Communications Construction Company CCCC, which is also a sister company of Phase 1 contractor China Road and Bridge Corporation, already has a contractual agreement to source up to 40% of materials from local companies. Very little, if any, of this quota is alleged to have been met. Where then is the disconnect and which way forward on the subject?
Number one, we would like to form a team, whether you call them a council or advisors or a task force, a permanent team that will be playing a key part in developing programs, in making sure that what we import, we stop importing if we can make it here.
Manufacturing is one of the pillars of the government's Big Four agenda alongside affordable housing, food security and universal health. Manufacturing is one of the pillars of the government's Big Four agenda alongside affordable housing, food security and universal health. For this then to become a success, common ground should be sought in order to make a pie large enough to satisfy all that are able and willing to help consume a piece. Well, indeed, stakeholders, they're asking for a piece of the SGR pie. Now, we now want to proceed on a short commercial break on that note. But before we go, just to remind you that our conversation on the oil and gas sector and what exactly has been the role of the Morendat Oil and Gas Institute is still pending. The professor, very able lady, still here in the studio with us. She'll be coming up after the break, so do stay with us. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
This is KTN News.
Downy Concentrate, world's #1. Back from school, it's evening time. Aunties hug him, why is that? Stressed and sweating, top to toe. Aunties still don't let him go. Why is that? It's Downy Concentrate Fabric Softener. Use it in the last rinse. Soak your clothes in it for fresh clothes, even when you sweat. Downy Concentrate.
Hello and welcome to Sport Africa. The BBC's new weekly show will explore the big sporting issues and questions, like why Africans aren't winning medals in the pool.
I just think it's their mindset.
Meeting established and rising stars.
I could be the Nigerian first Grand Slam winner.
And at the heart of it will be you, the fans, with your passion, your opinions, your stories, and even tests of your sporting knowledge. Go beyond the game with BBC Sport Africa.
Je, leo mashinani inakupata ukiwa maeneo gani? Je, leo mashinani inakupata ukiwa katika shughuli zipi? Tuko nawe sako kwa bako kuangazia unayoyafanya na yanayokuhusu.
Wakulima wajalipwa mpaka saa hii.
Hatuna kitu ya kukula.
Ufisadi sasa imekuja ni national disaster.
Tuko kila kona, vitongojini na mijini.
Willy Lusige, George Maringa,
Elvis Kosgei,
Raquel Wigai.
Mimi ni Francis Mtelaki,
Tobias Chanji,
Hamza Yusuf. Leo mashinani katika kaunti ya Garissa.
Harpic Mini gives you complete cleaning at one go.
Wow!
Harpic Mini only 100 shillings.
The real value champion.
Just like you.
This is KTN News.
Thank you for staying with us here on KTN Business today. Now, this second part of the show, of course, we will be focusing on the things that we have told you about. Of course, the fact that we have a discussion lined up for you in just a few minutes. But first, the Qatari government has donated 31 metric tons of assorted food and non-food items, which will be distributed to the flood victims whose lives have been destroyed by the heavy downpour that has continued to ravage various parts of the country. Now, speaking while receiving donations at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on Monday, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa has said that the floods, which are the worst experienced in recent past, have left many people dead, while others have lost their homes, livelihoods, and that the donations would go a long way in assisting the humanitarian works.
We're very, very happy today as Kenyans to accept and to receive this brotherly gesture from the government and the people of Qatar to the people of Kenya. They have been affected by floods. Some have lost their lives, others have lost their homes because of the floods. And we are therefore very, very grateful that our brothers from Qatar could have sent a hand of brotherhood to support the affected families. So we are here today with the ambassador to receive this food and non-food items that have been flown all the way from Qatar to Kenya.
Well, moving on to our next story now, of course, the fact that KCB has hosted an innovators forum in a bid to stimulate and provoke entrepreneurial thinking amongst the youth. The event was part of a drive by the bank to articulate its youth agenda. Now, speaking during the forum, KCB head of channels Dennis Njau urged students to embrace the entrepreneurial mindset in various ways of solving high-level unemployment throughout the country.
The things we're interested in is being able to support and promote entrepreneurship, as it were.
Well, Kenyans have been warned that they are at risk of being affected by deadly aflatoxin due to its availability in Kenyan soils, and that all grains need to be tested before milling or even before consumption. Now, this came up during an aflatoxin symposium organized by the Sorella Scientific Institute that brought together players across the Kenyan grain sector.
Aflatoxin is a poison that contaminates a wide range of food crops as they grow and persist after harvest, finding its way into humans through the food we eat, including animal products from livestock that have eaten aflatoxin-contaminated feeds.
The conversation on aflatoxins is a very important conversation because we know that if we don't talk about this, people are likely to die because aflatoxins are likely causes of cancer, and we must come together, talk about them, and find solutions on how to prevent them.
Aflatoxin causes liver cancer, compromises immunity, stunts growth in children, and kills chickens through contaminated feeds.
Government has got a duty to manage the levels of aflatoxin by themselves testing, because most of the grain get aflatoxin at a farm level. That means that our government in this country should now buy all the grain from farmers, all of it from farmers, and put it in their NCPB go-downs, and then test, and then sell it back to the community.
To get to the heart of the matter, to understand the extent of the problem but also find solutions on how aflatoxin can be overcome, Sorella Scientific organized a symposium that brought together players in the entire grain value chain, insisting that there is an urgent need to improve large-scale storage, reduce food losses, and protect African consumers from the serious health consequences on high aflatoxin levels.
Test methods which have been recommended is HPLC, higher performance liquid chromatography, or ELISA test methods, ELISA kits. We can still be able to use the rapid testing method, the rapid testing kits, but the rapid testing kits are supposed to be at the farm level, not at the level of the processing or in a laboratory.
Africa loses up to 30% of its grain production due to poor storage facilities that has led to rising cases of aflatoxin.
Market surveillance is also being done by our officers to just make sure that what is available out there for the public's consumption is safe for their use in terms of aflatoxin.
With maize and milk being so important in Kenyan diets, their contamination poses a big threat to the country's public health, and monitoring through tests can help save lives. Philip Keitan, KTN News.
You have the ministers?
Well, indeed, off the back of that story, just to remind you of our top story now, former local government Permanent Secretary Sami Kirui and former town clerk John Gako have been sentenced to serve 3 years imprisonment and pay a fine of 1 million shillings by the Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti. This is over the 283 million shilling cemetery scandal. Now, former Legal Affairs Director Mary Nyetha was sentenced to serve 3 years and pay a 52 million shilling fine or serve an additional 1 year in prison, while a former secretary to the tender committee has been sentenced to serve 3 years and pay a total fine of some 32 million shillings.
And delivered to her office. It is on the Exhibit 5, though he was aware they were to look at. This included accessibility, vis-a-vis and all-weather road connections to electricity and water. In their group was also Mr. Wanjoy, who represented the medical officer of Mr. Wanjoy, PW2, Mr. Itonga Akota, the chief valuer, Mr. Kitch, deputy chief valuer, and Mr. Uko. Medical officer of health that the land was not suitable for their purposes, though not in writing. As a member of the evaluation committee, no final decision had been made, as they never met to the local authorities to designate cemeteries. In all these sites, there was no plan by the local authorities as they then were to accommodate these cemeteries, and in their professional opinion as planners, they had an obligation to advise the technical committee. The accused are sentenced as follows. In count 1 and count 2, accused 1 and 2 are sentenced to both a period of 3 years imprisonment and a fine of Kenya shillings 1 million. In count 3, accused 3 and 4 are sentenced to a period of 3 years imprisonment. Further, accused 3 to pay a mandatory fine of Kenya shillings 52 million in default to serve another 1 year imprisonment. Accused 4 to pay a mandatory fine of 32 million in default, another 1 year imprisonment. In count 4, accused 3 to serve 3 years imprisonment to run concurrently with a sentence in count 3. Right of appeal, 14 days.
Well, we now want to move on to that conversation that we had indicated earlier, the fact that as we speak, delegates to the Morendat Institute of Oil and Gas Conference here in Nairobi are currently undertaking registration. All the stakeholders who have gathered from all over the world, all across Africa for that event, are currently gathered in Nairobi to literally brainstorm, bring in different perspectives, talk about the oil and gas sector as Kenya prepares to become an oil-producing nation. Now, to speak into that conversation with me here in studio, Professor Catherine Ngila now joins us. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Yeah, so I think a good place to start is to talk about the Institute first and use that to take a backwards look at the rest of the sector. The fact that Kenya is still very, very new when it comes to the oil and gas sector.
Yes.
That we, despite having looked, prospected for decades, we've only just been successful in finding commercial reserves. Mm-hmm. Do you think the lack of skills, adequate skills, so to say, lack of adequate technology in that sector will slow down the uptake of this resource and the benefits that will come about?
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, I think the country is relying on partly imported skills. Yes. But then, of course, we also have a lot of activities that are ongoing in terms of capacity training. Mm-hmm. So that at least by the time we say we have now full-blown sort of, producing and exporting. Yes. Well, there's, of course, crude oil, which has to be refined, or we're exporting it. But by the time we get to that capacity, full capacity, I think now, plans are in place to train. Yes. Various universities now are really opened petroleum departments. Mm-hmm. And of course, Kenya Pipeline is being a transporter, handling and distribution of oil. The 4 products that we usually receive from outside, we are just a courier company, as you know.
Yes, yes.
So we started now skills in terms of training what Kenya Pipeline does, which is basically in terms of the engineering sections or areas. So we are looking at pipeline maintenance in terms of engineering, mechanical maintenance. We have got instrumentation because, pumping the oil requires that. But obviously, right now, we are also positioning ourselves. We have started actually developing short courses in collaboration with even other institutions that are interested in that area. We are partnering with Turkana University, developing maybe diploma in oil and gas, oil economics, and so forth and so on. Other universities like Moi University, they have got. Nairobi University has got. Kenyatta University has got. So I think we're seeing ourselves, as a country, that we are now positioning ourselves, and the TVET, that is the Technical Vocational Education and Training, is really going very strong when it comes to the skills, because there was a paradigm shift whereby we all decided to have universities, converting technologies,
technology institutes and colleges.
Polytechnics to universities and all that. But now TVET, the division under Ministry of Education, is really very strong in terms of the skills, and the TTIs, that is the Technical Training Institutes. But of course, Kenya Pipeline now was mandated by the Ministry of Energy at the time to start the Institute of Oil and Gas, that is Moredat Institute of Oil and Gas, which is also now looking at not just the midstream, because Kenya Pipeline basically does the midstream. That is basically transportation and all that. So we are also doing upstream in partnership with other institutions, international, benchmarking, so forth and so on.
And this is where highly skilled individuals with experience from all over the world, such as yourselves, now come into the picture, because we essentially have to start the technology transfer that brings the skills that you've acquired in those foreign nations, in foreign places, and bring it to bear on our local economy and customize it for the local situation.
That's correct. We also have quite a number of actually engineers, petroleum engineering, people who have come from maybe Aberdeen University or other universities in the US and Canada, like, for example, South Alberta Institute of Oil and Technology, which is really very strong when it comes to oil. So my coming to Kenya Pipeline, which was only last year, I only joined the company last year. I came there to coordinate the training. So I'm the deputy director in charge of training, academic, and linkages. So we are developing academic programs, linking with other institutions, both local as well as international, so that we can be able to build capacity, the requisite capacity that is going to handle the skills required to actually realize, the dream of oil in the country.
Yes. So a lot of people heard that Kenya now has oil and thought it would be simply a thing where you go and break ground and the oil gushes out and it would magically appear in the market. It is a tedious, engaging, and long, and has to be carefully thought out process.
Yeah, definitely.
Where exactly do you think we are in terms of achieving what we have set out to do, and what should we look to in the future?
Well, basically in terms of the exploration, exploitation, the processing, because that is basically the upstream, processes that take place. Well, with Tullow and other companies that are on the ground in terms of trying to drill, and also looking for other areas where we've got oils, because it's not just Turkana, I'm sure. Lamu is there, Migori, I'm told that we might be having. So there are quite a number of areas. And as we continue this exploration, so geology becomes very, very strong because of exploration, so that we discover where these oils. But in terms of gauging where we are, it is a bit of a tricky question, because I wouldn't really, I've not taken stock to say we started 0, so now we are 20%.
This is where we are,
So the numbers I wouldn't...
Let's talk finally about the conference, because that is what essentially is important and is what is going on.
Exactly.
Why exactly is the conference taking place? What should delegates and stakeholders look forward to, and what do we want to achieve?
The first thing we thought about when we were organizing this conference, and in fact, before this conference, we even had a pre-conference workshop in March in Moredat, in Naivasha, where we called stakeholders in training, government, geology, and other related areas, including the oil marketing companies. We all came together, discussed, and then we came up with thematic areas. But the main reason why we decided to host this conference, the conference workshop, we are still trying to gather information in terms of the skills that are required to be able to realize the dream of oil in terms of exploration and all that, as well as the transportation and refining.
Yes.
And so the main interest is sort of to get ideas. When you bring people together, they brainstorm and they give you ideas. So we got ideas in terms of that pre-conference workshop, which was, we came up with 5 thematic areas in terms of management and governance, because these were issues that were raised during the pre-conference workshop, which was actually a precursor towards this, the conference itself, which starts tomorrow. So it is a 2-day conference. People came today. They are registering for the conference. Tomorrow is full-blown. It will be opened by the, we're expecting the minister, that is CS Petroleum and Mining and CS of Education, because education, because we are TVET. We fall under the TVET, so to speak, in terms of the program. But of course, we are part of Kenya Pipeline. So anyway, so one of the main reasons was just to have people together to brainstorm about what are the skills required in terms of exploiting this resource, and also most important, also to market ourselves. We are also very, very new because, as you know, Moredat Institute of Oil and Gas, first it was a product of the summit that the heads of state they had. That was 2013, 2014. 4 heads of state, that is Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and South Sudan met, and they felt there is a need for a center of excellence, which is now Kenya was given that mandate, actually. The Ministry of Education was told, run with it. Kenya Pipeline was told, can you come up with that center of excellence to deal with oil and gas capacity training? So because we are a new kid on the block, so to speak, in terms of we are specializing, we are an institute of technology, but we are specializing in oil and gas. So we want to tell students who are interested in joining our institute, we want to tell people who want to partner with us, we are here, this is what we do, and we want you, we are welcoming.
And the location is
of the location of the conference is at University of Nairobi Auditorium. That is Nairobi University Towers. The 6th floor, we have got the brand new.
Indeed, unfortunately, we are out of time, Professor, but thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you so much.
It has indeed been an engaging conversation. We will, of course, be visiting in on the conference to see what exactly is going on.
Welcome.
And to get a deeper perspective of the sector. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you very much.
But unfortunately, we are indeed out of time. That's why we want to bring it to a close here today on KTN Business. But to remind you that in just a few minutes, we'll have the news in Swahili on Mbiu ya KTN. We'll, of course, be back again at the same time tomorrow with more from the world of business. My name is Peter Akaba. It has been a pleasure. Kwaheri ya kuonana.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Hello and welcome to Sport Africa. The BBC's new weekly show will explore the big sporting issues and questions, like why Africans aren't winning medals in the pool.
I just think it's their mindset.
Meeting established and rising stars.
I could be the Nigerian first Grand Slam winner.
And at the heart of it will be you, the fans, with your passion, your opinions, your stories, and even tests of your sporting